This is the new global version of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus. It's a terrible name for a phone, but it offers a ton of value for a very reasonable price tag. It's got a bright 6.7-inch AMOLED display, 120 watts super fast charging for a big battery inside, a Snapdragon chipset, IP68 dust and water resistance, and a triple camera system with a 200 megapixel main sensor. You get all that at around $400. It can go lower or higher than that depending on your region, but I see this thing going as low as $340 in some countries, so this is definitely a very budget-friendly phone. But being this cheap with these flashy features, there's definitely some caveats that you should know before buying this phone. So let me take you through everything you should know about this phone, from the great things to the just okay and to the disappointing things. Before getting started, it would be awesome if you guys could subscribe to the channel. We're getting pretty close to 50k and it would be awesome if you guys can help make that happen. Okay, starting off with the really great parts about this phone, let's first talk about the high quality hardware and design. The 14 Pro Plus just looks and feels much more premium than what the price tag says. All glass and aluminum design with Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front and Gorilla Glass 7i on the back. It's a brushed glass feel, which is really nice. Even though the camera bump is pretty big, it's centered so the phone is nice and even on a table, and the general weight distribution is actually really well balanced across the top and bottom. This isn't that light of a phone either at around 205 to 210 grams, but it feels really light thanks to the balanced weight. Same thing with the thinness, it's actually not that thin of a phone, but because it's got curved glass edges and a very thin aluminum frame, it also feels super slim. Xiaomi's phone dimensions are always on the slightly longer, more narrow side, so even with a big display, the ergonomics here for carrying it around and using it one-handed are pretty good. The SIM slot can carry 2 physical SIMs, so this is a dual SIM phone. But there's even eSIM support, so you can do a hybrid physical SIM plus eSIM setup, or you can just have 2 active physical SIMs, which is really flexible and convenient. I know not everyone is a big fan of curved display edges. Even though these are thin bezels, they're not perfectly even. The haptics are good for general usage, but the vibration motor is relatively weak for calls and notifications. But besides those things, there's no doubt that the hardware here has many flagship phone qualities, especially when again, there's also an IP68 rating. There's even a complimentary case included in the box, which is just great value. I actually even prefer the look and feel of this phone over the Xiaomi 14T Pro, which is about $200 to $300 more expensive. What's also on par or better on the 14 Pro Plus is the display. This is a high quality 6.7-inch AMOLED display with a 2712 by 1220 resolution, a 5:1 contrast ratio, 120Hz refresh rate, up to 3000 nits of peak brightness, and an optical in-display fingerprint reader. It's not hard to find AMOLED 120Hz displays on mid-range phones these days, but this one actually did surprise me. Really great color reproduction and high contrast levels. It's also a very vibrant display, so I didn't even need to turn on vivid mode and I just kept it as a standard setting. With the high brightness, I had no trouble using this in sunlight. What also worked really well is the optical fingerprint reader. It's a really speedy one and works well even in dark environments. It's not an ultrasonic sensor, but at this price, I'm not complaining. I also didn't find any black splotches or weird quality control issues like I did with the Xiaomi 14T Pro display. So this looks great for all kinds of content, and it really does look like a high-end display panel, which was a nice price for a budget phone like this. Thankfully, I have similar thoughts about the dual stereo speakers here. These are actually really impressive with great bass, reverb, and high volume levels with fairly even dual speaker output. There's a bit of distortion at the highest levels, but overall it's pretty clean and deep, which is really great for listening to music and for watching content. I'm also super satisfied with the battery life and charging speeds. With a big 5100 mAh battery, I had pretty high expectations and this phone thankfully met them. I was able to get 6 to 6.5 hours of screen on time with about 17 hours of total usage per day. For my personal usage patterns, this is much better than the average 5 to 5.5 hours of screen on time I get on most other phones. Other than the Nothing Phone 2, this is the best battery life I've experienced on a phone in the last few years, so I'm super happy with that. And of course, the 120 watt charging speed is unmatched. I'm always impressed with Xiaomi's charging speeds, and that doesn't change here. The 120 watt charging adapter is included in the box and it gets me a full charge in less than 30 minutes, which is just crazy. With the super fast charging and the battery life also being good, you basically never have to worry about this phone running out of juice, which is so convenient. So great design, display and speakers, and battery life. We're checking off some of the most important things on a phone, which is awesome, but there are a few things you should know that are just okay. This phone comes with HyperOS 1.0 on board, with 2.0 coming really soon, probably in a matter of weeks. Even though this is just HyperOS 1.0 on a budget phone, HyperOS is still beautiful with beautiful lock screen presets. It's fully featured with things like sidebar multitasking and also all the AI features like circle to search, AI erase, and image expansion. So that's all fine, but to subsidize the low price, Xiaomi seems to have included a ton of ads and pre-installed games that you'll have to initially deal with, especially the wallpaper carousel that the software keeps trying to push on you. You can uninstall and turn all these off, which is what I did immediately, so not a huge deal, but it is something you gotta deal with out of the box. The good news is that I've dealt with less software bugs with this phone more than other HyperOS phones, and Xiaomi is promising 3 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of security updates. Not the best, but I'm relatively satisfied with that for a mid-range phone. More than anything, I've always loved HyperOS for its beautiful, smooth animations and transitions, but maybe because all the animations, this mid-ranger has more than the occasional frame drops in day-to-day use with slightly slower app cold opening times. So yeah, I'm feeling a little less of that HyperOS love here because of that just okay performance. The Note 14 Pro Plus comes with a Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 chipset and 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. So it's got a mid-range chipset, a full class below the 8 Gen 3 series. Of course, I didn't have the highest expectations here for a mid-range chipset, but I was a bit surprised to see the noticeable inconsistency in performance here for just general daily use. I even experienced some slowdowns when doing something a little more demanding like multitasking or installing apps, and even though this model has 12 gigs of RAM, I did find it killing apps in the background quicker than I wanted it to, so there was a lot of relaunching or refreshing of apps going on. For the day-to-day, it's fine, but it doesn't feel nearly as smooth or consistent like a mid-range Google Pixel. You can also feel that with this phone's gaming performance and thermals. Even with performance mode on and with low to medium graphics settings, I noticed frequent frame drops in demanding games like Genshin Impact. Now, less demanding games like Diablo Immortal and Call of Duty Mobile will run perfectly smooth and fine, but this phone does get easily warm even with those types of games fairly quickly. Basically, any 3D game will start to heat up this phone within about 5 minutes. It's not enough to be uncomfortable, but you can definitely feel it at the top left corner here where your left finger will be resting. So the software experience and general performance are just okay on the 14 Pro Plus, but the single most disappointing part about this phone is the triple lens camera system and its heavily advertised 200 megapixel main sensor. On paper, that sounds amazing, but as soon as you dig into the details a bit, it starts to fall apart. So even though there are 3 lenses here, including the 200 megapixel main, the ultra wide is just an 8 megapixel sensor, and there is no zoom lens. That third lens is just a 2 megapixel macro lens. I'm fine with no tele lens at this price, especially when it sounds like the main lens will cover that with a 200 megapixel sensor, but unfortunately, once you start to see the samples, you'll quickly see that we've been duped. So FYI, the main camera mode bins at 12 megapixels, and you can use the 200 megapixel mode to get the full res images, but in that mode, you're limited to just 1x and 2x zoom levels. Plus, if you compare the binned image and a full res image side by side, there's really not a significant difference even when zooming in. So yeah, we might as well just use the auto mode all the time. In good daylight conditions, the photos are decent. Just like any phone these days, a few shots in good lighting conditions can look pretty good. Unfortunately, those instances are a lot more rare with this phone. For a 200 megapixel sensor, the details look soft and there's a ton of digital noise once you start zooming in from 1.5x to 4x. It seems like we're getting very few of the benefits from the advertised 200 megapixels. The post-processing doesn't help with that either. I found the post-processing to be quite unpredictable. 60% of the time, it goes for more of an overexposed brightened look, and then the remaining 40% of the time, it goes for a very contrasty look that just kills shadows and anything close to darker colors. Either way, it's not a great result most of the time, and not very surprising, but you also get similar disappointing shots from the ultra-wide lens too. The only part that met expectations was the selfie camera, which is better than I expected. It's also pretty decent for video recording, but struggles a lot with stabilization in low light. The rear camera is definitely a little better with video recording, especially in better lighting conditions, but you probably won't want to rely on this camera system for vlogging. In general, the cameras on this phone are perfectly serviceable for quick snapshots of your day, but if you are into photography and posting aesthetic shots on your social media, you'll probably want to stay away from this one. Okay, so putting everything together, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus is a very solid mid-range phone with many flagship qualities. Great design, display, speakers, battery life, and super fast charging. While it's not a flagship killer, with those qualities alone, I think this phone is a great deal for the price, especially when the software experience and performance are also just about decent enough to satisfy most people. But if you're someone who loves playing games on your phone or you love taking photos and videos to post for social media, I probably wouldn't recommend this one. Okay, those are all my thoughts about the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus. Let me know in the comments what you think of this phone and if you'll be picking one up for yourself. As a disclaimer, this review unit was provided by Xiaomi, but this was not a sponsored video, so all my thoughts were mine and mine only. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.